Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Colorado High School Activities Association Finals as presented by Play Versus. I've got a good friend with me here. It's Kendo Slice joining me here in the booth. My name is Bearlight, and we're about to get this championship underway. Kendo, this might be one of the biggest moments in these young players' lives, and it happens here in front of us today.
Absolutely. Scholastic Esports is an amazing thing to behold. The idea of bringing everyone together out from the room, out from the basement, etc., and putting mainstream competitive, in this case Rocket League, but video games on the stage is a fantastic point. And we get to see two teams that have battled their way through an entire season of action trying to take it home for the state of Colorado.
Well, let's take a quick peek at the teams that made it here. We played from the quarterfinals today. So there was 8 teams still left in it by today, but now only 2 left on the mark. And it is Valor RL Alpha from Valor Christian High School facing off with Fort Collins High School. The FCHS team has a bid for their championship as well. And we'll get to know the teams here momentarily. Kendo, these two teams fought through today, but there was a even bigger bracket they had to break through as well. So a lot of big moments leading up to this place, and they've got more to make here in the finals.
Absolutely. It's a long, hard road, and they have put themselves in great confines to get there to the point that we have just two more teams, as you said. Valor Christian High School, Fort Collins High School. Fort Collins High School from Fort Collins, the Lambkin, from my understanding, is the mascot there. And then for Highlands Ranch, Colorado, the representative, Valor Christian High. The two teams that are gonna put up a very interesting display for us today. My understand is there is a little bit of systematic brotherhood on one team, and we have some pickled potatoes on the other one.
100%. It's the Burkhead brothers here. Craig and Matty Boy have that connection. We talked about it prior to this broadcast, Kendo, and it really does seem like when you play hours of video games together as a family, typically you get pretty close and know each other's play styles, know each other. You're very familiar with their mindsets too, and it goes a long way. And this is not just specifically like twins per se, but even just the brotherhood itself of growing up with those hours put in here for this Valor Christian High. And it's a lot of it's about how are they going to get their third involved too with
Mhm.
Novatrox. I think, that's a statement even more so could pick the focus of what Valor Christian High School has in their back pocket here today.
On the other side, of course, we did mention pickled potatoes. I've always loved in gaming altogether. You have some interesting names, both government names as well as screen names. And Fort Collins High School has it all. You have a pickled potatoes, you have the Kioki, as well as Grubster. Grubby Hey Arthur is the name that I have written down on my sheet, and that is amazing government, if you ask me.
Grubby leading the way, the Grubster 7 specifically. Maybe there's other Grubsters before, but there's not been a Grubster like this here in the finals in Colorado. One of the best Rocket League players in Colorado. Otherwise, you don't get that far. But yeah,
Yep.
Kyoki and Pickle Potatoes again with this trio coming in and looking to show off why they were able to fight through some of these teams. There were, lots of teams that joined in this association. So a big thank you goes out to the Colorado High School Activities Association for putting together this incredible event alongside Play Versus and Stay Plugged In for the production and operations side. A lot goes into Scholastic Esports, and it's one of the big reasons why you're able to work esports from this grassroots level and really build up grassroots esports. If you do that, then the rest will rise as well. And I think this is a unique opportunity to see, the members of Colorado put together something quite special.
Absolutely. And you let's go into scholastic esports altogether for a moment. It's all made possible by one, the efforts of a lot of leadership within some of these schools. I want to do a special shout out to the two coaches of these teams. We have Chance Young on the side of Fort Collins High School, and for Valor Christian High, we're talking about Nate Higgins. So thank you to the coaches for what you're doing in the tutelage, as well as making sure that these kids are all rounded up and ready to go when time comes to the rubber meets the road on the pitch.
There's so many. Yes, you have to be prepared and ready to go, ready for that action. And in fact, anybody can be involved. Are you ready for the action specifically as well? If so, enrollment for the spring 2024 season is now open and it's free. Yes, free to compete. Discover the opportunities that PlayVersus offers and get all the details on upcoming spring season at playversus.com. That is playvsvictorsam.com. Don't just watch, play, get involved. Find ways to get involved because there is so much room for you in the esports world. And it all starts by taking that first step and figuring out what you might be good at in this scene. And Play Versus helps with just that.
Or just talking. Whether it be a friend, some of these come in
Sure.
as more of a club variety, and not exactly full on organization. It just starts with one conversation, and you can get yourself as well as others involved in play versus. You just need to start with one conversation, and it can grow from there. But we get the chance to see in this competition a couple of teams that have grown together over the course of a season. And I imagine my understanding is that we are live. They're looking at us right now. They're hearing our voices in their headsets as they are getting ready for the penultimate moment. Oh, it's so exciting to think about.
It is. And you have to channel it into excitement if you're a player because sometimes it can actually present itself and manifest as nervousness. And that's very natural, especially in this environment where so much is up for grabs, where the stakes are that high. You have to just kind of calm yourself down and maybe find that calming voice. Maybe somebody who's, during the season, maybe a little bit too calm and needs to be amped up in order to get their best gameplay out. Maybe they're the ones you look to kind of calm yourself down for those aggressive players that usually put up the numbers when it's a little bit less high stakes. So everybody has something to learn from one another as far as how their mentality is going into a match like this. And that's all going to be up to these teams. And of course, the coaches as well for their responsibilities in leading. Leadership not only comes from the coaches, though, you have to have that leadership in the communications as well during it on the pitch itself. And we'll surely find out pretty quickly in this best of seven who those leaders are.
Of course, leadership has been something that's no stranger to either of these teams throughout the regular season. Took a look at the bracket quickly as both of these teams were towards the top in their respective division size. We're talking about a second seeded team and a fourth seeded team within the confines of this tournament. Uh, Gonna be very interesting for the Valor squad because they took down the number one rated team in the bracket coming into this one. So they might be riding a little bit of a high, able to take over and beat a team that some might have thought undefeatable.
And it does seem like when you get over that, I call it a hump, it's a huge mountain, right? To get over the first seeded team. But if you do that, you really give yourself a great opportunity to build that confidence. Number one, it's already been built once that's how you got over the mountain in the first place. And now you just have to keep in mind that if you keep that same energy, keep that same passion, and feel like you're going up against that same team coming in, nothing to slack now. I've seen it so many times where if you take out that number one seed, you truly become the favorite to some degree, knowing that you have that target on your back and that everybody wants to take you down. And just how you react to that. Not a lot of players have success with that, but the ones that do, they really truly shine.
Yeah, being able to reign in the moment, especially when there is so much excitement, it's easy to get blown out, blown out of proportion altogether. You nail home the game winner. What happens? Yeah, all of a sudden things could change dramatically. And again, I go back to the coaches: Nate Higgins for Valor Christian High and Chance Young for Fort Collins High School. They have their work cut out for them in a big moment. I love the fact that we get to talk about some of these teams, and I can't wait to be introduced to them on the pitch.
Especially, Zuby Dooby Doo, one of my favorite names.
What a name.
Worked his way, Zuby Dooby Doo worked his way through, and here we are being able to talk about it. And his brother Berkey C, rather. That's Craig with a C, not a K.
Yeah.
And Craig's got this moment to shine alongside Matt with his brother, and I'm all for it. Listen, cool name, cool tricks is something we're gonna definitely take a peek at here later on.
Just going down the list, everybody, we have on the Valor RL Alpha team. It is Berkey C, Craig Burkhead, Matt Burkhead, Zuby Dooby Doo is the screen name there. And you're going to see Nova Shrox. That is Evan Hackard. Opposite side of the pitch is going to be Fort Collins High School, coached by Chance Young. Grubby Hey Arthur, Grubster7 they'll be the name that you see in game. Benji Rush, that is the Kyoki, and we have Andrew Bradley, pickled potatoes. I'm still trying to wrap my brine around pickled potatoes. Quite the name.
It is quite the name. It'll give Zuby Dooby Doo a run for their money, but
Yes.
it all comes down to good vibes. And if you have that type of name, maybe you get some smiles going. That's always important in this long day, especially when it's been such a long day as well. So these players have gone through the quarterfinals, like we mentioned, and so you play a lot of Rocket League during the time. I know pros, are used to this kind of long grindy days, with RLCS and that level, even CRL to some degree. Once you get to the bracket stage, you're playing for a long period of time during the day, especially for quals to get into CRL. That's a grind and a half. Same for
Yeah.
RLCS. But at this high school level, that doesn't happen as often. Sometimes it's league play where you only have one match a week, maybe two matches a week. I'm not exactly sure the schedules here, but to play multiple matches back to back in this environment for the championship is got to bring into the question the factor of gamer fatigue and if they can keep the foot on the pedal throughout this bracket.
But it also gives you, exactly as you were saying, a little glimpse into what that pro life is truly like. And
That's
that,
right.
in essence, is one of the most genuinely loving thing about scholastic sports, scholastic esports in this case. I want to amalgamate the two together in case you haven't gotten to that point. But scholastic sports is scholastic esports at this point in time in my mind. And we have the greatness of Colorado going to be on display. They've been there all day. They have been maybe a little bit fatigued at this point in time. It's going to be the team that is able to overcome in the moment, just like in professional play. They overcome, they take home the grand prize, the victory, and knowing that in Colorado for play versus, there was nobody better.
That's right. That is such a title to have and hold, and especially when you're thinking about going to the collegiate level, and whether you want to
Yes.
compete there or just be part of an esports program in some shape or form. Either way, that's a great thing to put on your resume here that
Mhm.
you dominated and have that opportunity at the next level. So it's all about building that resume, not only from an academic standpoint, and that's increasingly important. It is student, in my opinion, student first, athlete second. However, if you have that capability to go to a college and say, I've won the state of Colorado, check it out. That's something to remember, write down, and bring up in conversations, please, with colleges, because that'll go a long way in your talking to them.
You bring up college, and I think about the state of Colorado, and I immediately think of Colorado State University, who has been and was in the most recent CRL fall, the highest level of collegiate Rocket League, a member of the West. So you love to see on display, who knows, maybe the footage that comes from a Colorado championship of high school variety ends up being the difference between becoming a Ram at CSU.
Exactly. And how do you reach this point where you're able to maybe toss this on the resume? How did these teams get here in the first place? And for me, it's all about routine, right? How do you hold yourself accountable day after day as far as, healthy eating habits? You're like, okay, it's not sports. Why does that matter? Because the brain really does need that nutritious food, and so keeping care of your body means keeping care of your brain means 200 IQ plays. Plain and simple, right? To some degree, right? Obviously, you have to put in the hours as well going in and that brings us up to practice, right? How much time are you putting into training packs? How much time are you practicing with scrims with your teams, which is seemingly the most important according to a lot of professionals too, is getting that time together, get that synergy going as well. But all three of those factors are things that I'm looking for from players every single day from the collegiate standpoint, as far as who I want to bring on and who can really make that impact.
And events like this one are a perfect place not only to grow yourself into that role, but be able to have opportunity to put it into practice, put these moments into show. And the show, my understanding is it is coming up. It will be very shortly on your screen. I'm excited. It is a culmination of weeks of work that these young folks have had the opportunity to not only put on display, but now a championship on the line. The state of Colorado on the line as well. I'm hyped for it. Are you?
We're getting fired up. I imagine it's
Uh,
going to be a close one. There's so much talent here in Colorado. I can sense it and feel just how much energy is in both of these teams in order to succeed. And for me, talking about play versus, they believe in that even ground field, right? That every
mhm.
player has that level grounds. And I feel like that's what we're going to see in this championship as well. And that's one of the ways that play versus was able to make this even too. It's never been better to build a program and live these huge moments. And so again, with those fees being waived, you can get your school involved in Play Versus, playversus.com. Please, I urge you to go check them out. Now is the best time that you could ever be involved here. And we're about to get involved into some Rocket League here. And we go down to the pitch now. Kendo, we begin the championship of the Colorado High School Activities Association Finals right now.
Okay, folks, best of 7. I think everybody knows what that means. It is the first team to 4 games won. So every single team, every single match that you can win, every single possession you can win, going to be of the highest level of criticality. And we see right off the bat in the orange, it is Fort Collins High School. Valor RL Alpha, we're going to be referring to them, is Valor Christian High School in the blue. And I'm getting the feeling that those are reversed.
That's correct. Yes, getting the
Yeah.
updated now for you.
We'll be okay. We'll be okay.
Exactly. Long day. Shot coming though. Double touch coming through. Valor's on top. Pretty early. Grubster unfortunately left one up in the air. Thought Potatoes could follow, but CWPO jumps on the spot and a 1-0 lead here for Valor.
We'll try to figure out who we have where doing what. But yes, Valor up 1 early, and it's going to be Grubster. Off of the side wall, able to get the pass in. I really love about Rocket League how fluid the rotations are, and so you have to be constantly able to be whatever you have to be in the moment. It is one of the things that we love about this game. Different from a lot of games where you have roles. No, you have to be able to do it all to be at the highest level of Rocket League.
You have to constantly be ready. And ready they are, but a big save there from Kyoki. Valor's been putting on this pressure. As we appreciate your patience on getting that switched over. Here's Novatrox. That will just play it high, float one, and we'll follow up on it too. As Pickle Potatoes try to go for the challenge, but the clinical 1-2-3 punch right in the middle from Valor will give them the 2-0 lead.
You have to challenge just a little earlier if you're Pickled Potatoes, and they utilize the 3v1 afforded from that early pass to a T. Ball in the box, the danger zone, as it might be known. They take full command of game number 1. That is a good place to be. They are in the dangerous confines for a moment, but CWPO will be able to get this out to the side. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far from Valor, though. They've done a great job of working the ball up through the midfield as a team. They're looking for each other in pass plays, Fairlight, and that already shows good signs for a championship.
It does, and on the other side of the coin, when you talk about Fort Collins here, it just needs to be cleaned up a little bit more. They seamlessly are giving away possession to some degree. I'd like to see more intentional passes from the defensive side. They are trusting a little bit too much in their floats. They're trying to float it to teammates, and it's been read all the way by Valor, who continuously just weighs on this pressure and constantly knows when to challenge to make it happen. And CWPO almost got it to work again, but eventually Grubster will get to it and try to get the center, but look at Valor just controlling the line at midfield.
Definitely need to shorten up some of these plays. Valor is looking to really key possession smash mouth. And now Pickled Potatoes, not only with a chance to quell the pressure, but really it's a deep breath for Fort Collins High School.
That's right. This is the biggest moment. We said, how will both of these teams react to it? And right now, Fort Collins, although they struggled a little bit, they are able to at least find themselves on the attack for about the first time in this game. And that's a floater. Up shot taken, bar down. Kiyoki goes to work. And FCHS has now cut the lead in half.
And what an attack it was! Brilliant pass play off of the corner wall. That is a tough read for the highest level of gameplay in Kiyoki. Early, the pre-jump, immaculate bar down ski. Really good stuff, and Fort Collins cuts it in half.
There's that spark that you need when you're feeling stagnant in the goal-scoring department, when you felt like you were being trapped in the defensive side for too long. And a great effort there for Fort Collins again. Valor, now it's their turn to try and answer the coin. I know they have this lead still, but Fort Collins has been knocking on the door as of late, at least in the last 30 seconds or so prior to that goal, as Kiyoki will try and play it past. Great job to float it high to beat that first defender, as Zuby got enough to get it over to Novatrox. And that'll leave Pickled Potatoes working backwards for it. Actually beat Grubster too, as Grubster was trying to jump up in support, but maybe should have been a little bit more patient. Fort Collins now will eventually get back to it too. Glued to Grubster's car, will try to launch it to center. Past Zuby too as well, but it'll be CWPO that does enough to get it out to the corner.
Solo carries like that, especially if you have the teammate behind you, can do so much, especially at this level of play. FCHS, Fort Collins High School, have done a great job of taking what was a very fast amount of pressure that Valor had put on them, and they have turned it on its head here towards the tail end. Still 22 seconds to go. Does Grubster have the shot? That's off the backboard and down! Oh, it was so close!
The read in the arrows set him up for success, but unfortunately that last moment couldn't get above it, and that was in prime opportunity. But now you're down under 5 seconds, and it's pushed out. Kiyoki gonna try to set it forward momentum-wise, but unfortunately it's gonna be stolen from their car. Valor will walk away with game number 1.
That was so very close, and they do see it fall by the wayside. That is the sort of moment that can take the winds out of your sails. So my hope for Fort Collins is they don't allow that, even for one moment, to get into their heads. They were right there in the last second to tie it up, and small little mistakes happen here or there. It could have gone either way. Brilliant stuff to come back in the face of adversity.
That's right, and really shows that Fort Collins, they were able to adjust, number one, but then what they were doing specifically was, they were getting the challenges a little bit quicker and not giving away possession the way that they were early in that one. Kiyoki was a prime example of this, was content enough to let the ball come to him, settle down, and then work from there. And I think that was the biggest part, was holding on to that possession so that way you have that control that was necessary. That same control that we saw from Valor was something that Fort Collins was able to accomplish when they were able to just catch it and then work down the field. Take a minute, look around, take that deep breath like you mentioned, and when they did, it looked like a completely different team, and they were knocking on the door, like you mentioned, until just about 10 seconds left in this one.
We go straight into game number 2, and love the fact that we get to see adjustments on the fly. And I've always talked about the best teams, championship winning teams, are ones who can make adjustments. In between games, it's a given. You have to be able to do that at any level in series like this. But if you're able to make an adjustment on the fly during a game, that is brilliant excellence. And we're given a toast. What a pass.
That was a beauty. The flip reset to send it off that back wall, knowing that Grubster was there in the box. Nobody on the back wall to guard it, and that's when they made the decision to go back wall and back down. And Valor back on top early, just like we saw in game number 1. And that's a good way to silence a team that were doing the right things late. And why not make it difficult for the defense to get to those spots, get to those reads? And that's how they get this early lead.
some pretty high-level high school Rocket League, I will say. The backboard is not safe. That's something that we've established very early on, so there will need to be some more backboard defense for both teams, as we have seen double taps, one converted, one not, so far through the first 6 minutes of gameplay. Quick little volley. Valor back to their ways, controlling the midfield well, but a loss of possession. We'll see a quick jump and chase into the Valor defensive zone. Does Grubster have another one? Good slow play, but good backboard defense as well coming in from Valor.
The Berkey C, if you will, also known as CWPO in this tilt. Then adjusting up defensively, setting up his team, putting them in prime position to try and escape, and so is Kyoki. The shot just off the mark, and it'll have to be the Berkey C to clear up high. It's his brother, Zuby-Doo. Trying to get it to cut it across to the box, but nothing doing here as the intended target couldn't quite catch up to the pace of that pass. And Grubster will push forward off the corner. Just an awkward touch was necessary, and Valor able to get it out. But there's some weak points that Fort Collins is starting to see, and that was almost 1-2, but Novatrox able to come up with a big save.
And if you are Fort Collins, you want to keep the pressure on right here and right now. You saw multiple aspects of this defense on its heels. Double commits galore. There's another one as they are able to get this ball to the side. It's an opportunity for shots like that from Kyoki. Continued pressure will be seen on, but it is the midfield retention that has Fort Collins looking lethal right now.
Yeah, they turn on just about everything, and that's completely different than the first 2 minutes we saw in game number 1. But Novatrox trying to change that. Oh, a great pass far side. The read from Berkey C is the one that gets it done 2-0.
Calm down! Calm down! You thought there was a save, but the play out goes straight into the waiting arms of the falling Berkey C. My goodness! That was a statement goal as we are 6 seconds beyond halftime. Very familiar confines, however, for Fort Collins High School. They came back from 2 down before and made it very interesting toward the end. They will just have to do it again, but Fields' backflip man's going to make it 3.
Yeah, and they try to convert it into a bit of a backwards notation here, try to get the half flip, if you will, but Grubster unfortunately left the only one chasing it down after the teammate at midfield, which is where we said their strengths were. Unfortunately, that was not one of them with the misstep there. It was not the cleanest for Fort Collins. And even though they're playing better than they were in game number 1, Valor still found a way to put up 3. I know that one was pretty easy for him given the mistakes, but there we go. Kyoki will take that ball bounce look, and at least we'll get one on the board here for Fort Collins.
The same inconsistencies have still been there across the board for Valor on the defensive end. Case in point, you have 3 players in the same zone multiple times. So if you are Fort Collins, there is still plenty of opportunity. With just under 2 minutes left and only a 2-goal deficit, you can bring it back as long as you're able to keep that pressure on.
Pressure is the name of the game for Grubster, who will turn on that one quickly. Zuby did just enough to just play it off his own backside, but he had to force Berkey C up for that one. They will win a huge 50-50, though, and Berkey C will toss it out. I believe the intended target was Novatrox. It'll eventually work its way to Nova in an awkward fashion, but I guess you don't care how it works. Now left there, though. Oh, blunder defensively for Fort Collins. Almost was cleaned up, but Valor just couldn't quite find the angle there offensively.
Angle is the name of the game. Can you find what beats your opponent? And right now, offensive zone pressure is exactly the angle that Fort Collins are looking for. Grubster, good initiation in the midfield. Just needs to get one more off the sidewall. Well defended. It took all 3 members of the Valor defense in order to keep this out. That means there is opportunity, though, for Fort Collins. Kyoki, good carry through the midfield. It seems like everybody on the pitch is very capable of nasty air dribbles.
Typically at the high school level, you'll see some carrying the mechanics pretty heavily. You'll see a lot of the background of, players that prefer to play third because they're a bit nervous in their mechanics. And that doesn't seem to exist here. Every player does have those smacky plays, and there's one of them. Double touch almost landed for Berkey C. but couldn't quite find it again from the top down. That's a tough angle to read.
Double commit, 10 seconds to go. They need a quick transition play in order to see this one dangerous. And it will not be. Valor Christian High School, Valor RL Alpha team. They are going to be up 2-0 in this series with a, I would say, consistent look there.
They have. It hasn't been 100% polished, but they have been doing the right things to at least escape the pressure when Fort Collins starts to find their groove, whenever their defensive rotations begin to start moving in the correct direction, to get outlet passes, to get down the field. And so Valor's been doing enough to hold that off and be able to pressure themselves whenever the calling is there. I do like how they play with a lead, too. I know it almost disappeared in game one, and they did surrender one goal there in game number two after the 3-0 start. But after all, I mean, they're not playing nervous and on their heels whenever they get that lead. Instead, they're actually looking to implement that same consistency that you allude to.
We've talked about how, well, not personally, but in the past, we have talked about how important it is to score the first goal in the game of Rocket League. A majority of the time, you get the first goal, you are playing with pressure on the board. It allows a different feel for the game. I need to see Valor Christian High get that first goal so they can put the same type of pressure that we have. Excuse me. Yeah. I still have the teams flipped around in my head. I need to see that from Fort Collins. That way they can be the ones with that scoreboard pressure on Valor Christian High.
That's true. I mean, you feel like you're chasing, especially at this level. When you're down 2-0 in a series, you really want to see that first goal go in. Otherwise, you feel like you're just chasing the game and therefore chasing the series. And that's never a strong way to play mentality-wise. So I would like to see that early pressure. And we know they're capable of it. They put up goals in the past. Perhaps this is it, but Nova with a good read. I was able to pre-jump that one. That's the speed required in order to make a big save like that early. So they're holding off Fort Collins. A lot of that reason why Fort Collins hasn't gotten off to an early start is because they start each game on time. Valor's always pressuring in this first minute.
They do an excellent job, but there's been just as exemplary a display put on the goal line. I don't know how there was no goal in the moment, but brilliant defense by Fort Collins. They built a fort in front of the net.
Yeah, they were impenetrable here, and they have been at the midfield basically this whole game. There's been a couple of blunders here positionally where they moved a little bit too far forward. Other than that, lockdown time. What a read, Grubster! He's done it. He's put Fort Collins on the board first with an excellent read.
This started on the other end of the pitch. Grubster was behind a lot of the saves that we saw defensively, and you see the exact same logic coming in offensively. You put it through, muscle it through at times. I didn't know that heavy lifting was a part of the curriculum. That was pretty.
In the gym here with the strength.
Exactly.
Biceps are bulging right now after that huge play. An excellent read. Mind and body. We talked about it beforehand. Well, perhaps it is a real manifestation here on the pitch in the game of Rocket League. Kyoki gets a second one here for Fort Collins. He was just allowed to crash the box, and it worked.
And if they're able to not only get the type of pressure that we've seen, but maintain possession and ball control in the offensive zone, just like the last minute and a half has gone, FCHS can do damage against Valor. They have done so extremely well. I called for the first goal, give them two.
Looking for three. They're on the right side of the half until Nova was able to cut it off, work back the other way. Back wall, Kyoki did a great job to settle it down and allow Grubster to jump on that by just tapping it with the backside of his car. An excellent way to use that air roll to your advantage, as Nova tried to sidestep past Grubster, but he was able to at least flip it high and give Kyoki a chance to get that 50-50 at midfield. But look out, right back at you from Zuby. Grubster gets a hit, but that one's backwards. It works out as Berkey C already up for it now. Nobody's on the challenge, but the flip reset unfortunately did not connect. And now Pickled Potatoes will try to start up and try to find this third for Fort Collins.
It would have been a vastly different offensive play if the challenge would have been there. No flip reset means very routine defense. They had all three members there, so there was still a chance regardless if it hit or not. but I don't know that you want to give Valor any room, especially when your offense has been all about keeping the pressure on, and Valor's pressure comes through.
Well, I'm gonna name that move the Zooby Dooby Doo because unfortunately I missed that initial
Wait!
touch. Yeah, missed it left side, and yet still flipped his car in a way that he could angle it back into the net and say, "Whoops, sorry, fellas, I'm gonna get it right the second time around."
Not just angle it into the net, finessed it into the net. That was against the grain completely, flipping against momentum in order to make that one extremely difficult to say. You gotta be kidding.
Not like this. Fort Collins, she grabbed the
Oh,
2-0 lead, the double commit there, and Grubster had it, but they didn't trust. And then by the time Kyoki was reading it, he thought they were going to go high. What happened was, well, they went low. Sometimes you guess wrong. You just got to get out and get that challenge. But a couple of mistakes there, and Fort Collins sees their 2-0 lead dissipate in a matter of 10 seconds.
they lose priority on the scoreboard. They can't lose priority on the ball. Gotta stay behind those challenges if you are Fort Collins. Build upon what has worked, especially in the offensive zone. Double commit in, chance to keep the possession on the dump and chase, but Pickle Potatoes is right there. The double commit turns it into a 1v1. Do they have the additional touch? They do, and it is a complete turnaround.
Yeah, again, Berkey C, when they get the ball in their hands, they're able to make big things happen. And Grubster was just a little bit too far forward, was ended up chasing because of that challenge from the third back. And that's unfortunate. Fort Collins sees Valor with 3 in a row. You're going to support Fort Collins. You want to see them turn it around and get this next goal just as important as it was to get the first one in the first place. And that's what Grubster's going to do. Nobody back for Valor. And they're able to take advantage of their defensive blunder and at least get it back equal.
Let each other cook, and especially if you're watching Grubster right now, let Grubster cook. The key to what this team needs to do, we've seen double commits in the offensive zone. That destroys any pressure that you could have. Make sure you trust each other. Trust your teammates in the highest level to make sure that those plays go through. If they don't, you put yourself in a good position anyway because you trust it. Oh my goodness! Zooby Dooby Dunk!
That's right. He got up early from the midfield, launched it towards net, and then you got the read off of Kyoki, which is a difficult read to make. Kyoki was trying to leave it for a teammate, but ended up seeing Scooby over their head, and it was over with at that point. Zuby gets the job done in a fashion we said one side could flex, and Valor said, so can we.
Well, now it needs a 1-minute flex if you're Fort Collins, because you do not want to let a 2-0 lead early on fall by the wayside. Somehow to keep that out is Kyoki. They need to gather up possession. Can't have loose clears like that one coming out of their own goal. They are going to have to keep this ball forward and keep it on the nose if they want to have a chance with 30 to go.
Kendo, a large part of why Valor's been able to get back has been their boost control. You saw everybody from Fort Collins just a moment ago scramble out for 100 boosts and almost let one just fly in off the skin of their teeth. We'll see if they can at least get back into the rotation. Right now, it's Grubster and left to him to try to get the challenge. They'll play high. One more touch to get it past Nova, but Pickled was already up for it instead of being patient. But they still have an opportunity. Here's Grubster trying for the corner touch. This will go off the ceiling and work its way back to the top of the box. Awkward exchange, and they're just not in sync enough. And the 2-0 early lead will slide, and Valor will head to match point. This Valor Alpha team has been sensational.
I mean, everything is a learning opportunity, right, Bear?
Right, yeah.
And at this point, you look at the very end. I'm not doing this to put anybody down, but if you do exactly as we said, where you give your teammate the opportunity to cook, be patient in that moment. The 50-50 came in, and Pickled Potatoes would have been in proper position if grounded and waiting for that play to develop. They would have had a perfect shot from the slot, and it would have been borderline an open net to do so to tie that game. Just gotta trust your teammates. Now you're in a very disadvantageous position, down 3 games to none in a best of 7. but you can
Yep.
start trusting now.
That's right. There's never, you said it best when you said that you have to start now. And that applies both when you're looking to look into colleges or if you're looking to get a reverse sweep in a best of 7 where the analytics are quite against you. But at the same time, it is a learning experience, but that means that you're at the highest level when you make that kind of learning experience because it is very natural as anybody, as a human being in general, to go up for that because you just surrendered a 2-0 lead and you need a goal now. And so that really forces the minds. You have to be more patient. It's very difficult to do. So it's tough, yes, but you just got to get past it. You're right. Learning experience is well put. And a chance for Valor Alpha to close out now into game number 4. And Fort Collins just needs 1 on the board, and then you can work from there.
We'll see what they do with their offensive possessions. I'd like to see a team effort, one where everybody gets an opportunity to push into the offensive zone. Again, I really would love to see a little more attenuation, a little more ball control like we see right here from Valor. My goodness.
RTC, patient with it. Angled his car up, by the way, with that air roll, and then just leaned back a little bit, so that way, instead of just going full force to the net, where the defense has an easy time reading the angle, you settle it down on the hood of your car, go high, go slow, and it served as a change-up to throw them off, and look at that bullet! A snipe shot here from Zuby Dooby Doo. They've got just about everything in their repertoire, and they're letting the arsenal show.
Hey, there's still a chance, though, and if you're Fort Collins, you got to make sure you're clear on comms. Like, this is still our opportunity. This is still our game. We just need to keep things and our momentum going forward. The Valor defense is the same that it's been from the very beginning. And if they're able to get that pressure in the offensive zone, working together as a unit, this team from Fort Collins still very much in the running. Despite the analytics, despite the numbers.
There's so much that goes into the human experience, especially for a high schooler. It's all about having that mentality that anything is possible. And right now, it was possible for Grubster to try to get it over Nova, but he shuts the door down and looks for more here with the crossing pattern to other side of the box, but nobody really there to follow up there for Valor. That'll allow Fort Collins to at least regather the troops. Take that deep breath. It would be in order at this point in time. As Kyoki can't get to it either. Zuby Doo with his second of the game, 4th of the series, and it's 3-0 now for Valor Alpha.
I do appreciate we had Grubster trying to get out on that challenge early. It needs to be a team effort, though. Everyone needs to be getting involved on trying to make sure that forward ball control is a part of the Fort Collins game plan, both offensive and defensively. There is still plenty of time for this team. I want to believe. I don't have a rooting interest there, but at the same time, moments like this are too good to pass up. Fort Collins still has an opportunity to come back. Does it start with Grubster right here? No, it's Nova Trox coming across with the sweep.
That was nice, and a tough pill to swallow for Fort Collins. But this one, Kyoki shot again. It's Nova. It's been so big defensively, and a couple of saves. And Fort Collins, man, that's just so discouraging. When you've had these moments, you finally get some offense rolling, and now you give up a loose one. Oh no, you don't. Urquici was off the mark. It'll at least keep Fort Collins alive for now.
For now, but Valor's offensive pressure has been oppressing, living up to the press torch of the wording there. They have defensively been able to keep things together, but a lot of that defense has only had to deal with the pressure of one shot on, and that is it. Great care of the ball taken by Valor RL Alpha. Look to keep and maintain this score line and maybe add to it. Folks, there is literally 100 seconds left. Does Valor have it in them? I think they might just. They need one more and to block that ball because the lead's now 2.
Yeah, Kyoki, All the way back there, just a challenge, and Berkey C probably wishes they had that one back. Rushed into the box. When there is two members of the defense there, including Kyoki, who is ready to just launch it back, and nobody back there for Valor RL Alpha. So they'll have to look to resettle, look to kill out this clock. I credited them for playing well with the lead and playing the same way that they have been, which is been locked in on the rotations at the midfield, and they'll have to continue to get back to that. And not to prove me wrong here, as Fort Collins has an opportunity, a unique one here to finally jolt into this. But Grubster's going to be
Oh,
nibbled up, but they missed the chance. Oh my, Valor, a couple of mistakes here. Fort Collins still has an opportunity.
I do appreciate much better activation coming out of Fort Collins, though. 60 seconds to go. There's still plenty of time. As they've been much better about getting out of their own defensive zone. Kyoki, large portion of that, twice in a row now, being able to carry the ball through. The pass to Grubster, immaculate, but Grubster did not get up in time. And this one may go a long way, all the way back. Ooh, Novatron, wow.
Double demo on the defensive side, then a pinch all the way back down the pitch, and Pickle Potatoes just had to sit there and wait for it to come to him. Need to be a little bit more aggressive out there defensively, and now it feels more and more like it's becoming a reality here. Valor Alpha just about 30 seconds away from an early Omega. And make it more. Zooby Dooby goes right back to work. 5-1 now. That if there wasn't insurance before, it's definitely there.
Oh my, what a connection. The brothers Burkhead getting in on a pass together. Is that the cherry on top? We'll find out. 31 seconds, stranger things have happened. But this one looking like a celebratory moment as Valor RL Alpha may do this in style. A sweep on the line, a sweep they may receive. It is the darlings of Highlands Ranch, Colorado. They are going to be your play versus CHSAA champions.
Incredible work. Grubster here at technicality. As you gotta respect the rule of zero. With the demo, now a chance as they look to close out. And finally, it'll hit the mark. We have our champions. Congratulations to Valor Christian High School. You all played the hearts out of this one, lights out for the majority of this one. And even in the close ones like game 2, and even in the big ones where you needed to close out, you get a big win by that count of 5-1.
And it just seemed like one of the things they had going for them more than anything else was the team play. They gave each other room. They were allowing each other to cook. And then when it came time for pass plays, Craig and Matt were on top of it the entirety of that match. The beautiful display, especially there at the end. Everyone got involved for Valor Christian High, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they're able to do going into the future because that's one of the things you love about high school esports and high school Rocket League specific. There are plenty more opportunities where that came from.
There certainly is, and they will continue to hold their heads high. At least I would if you're Fort Collins High School. You saw a lot of great play there. It's not ending the way that you'd like, but you fought through a big bracket. You had a great season overall. And if you're a younger underclassman, you get to lead by example coming into the next one with expectations of making it to the finals, which is pretty cool, and try to get that next championship instead. And it starts next semester as well. You know, that's what we're talking about. You can get involved too. If you're just getting into high school or maybe your school program isn't there, are you ready to get into the action? Because we are. Enrollment for spring 2024 season is now open and it is free to compete. Discover the opportunities that PlayVersus offers and get all the details on the upcoming spring season at playversus.com. Play V as in Victor, S as in Sam.com. Don't just watch, play and create those moments and get into the scene and really make it happen for your team, like we saw from Valor in the Alpha squad here today.
I wish these were opportunities that I had when I was that age. Of
Yeah,
course, now we're far beyond it. We do want to say a special thank you to everybody involved in today's production because while I don't get the opportunity to compete, I do get the opportunity to watch these young people and talk about their accomplishments as we get to see them on the screen. So thank you to everybody there making things happen on the side of CHSAA. Thank you to everybody on the Play Versus side and Bear Production. Thank you all for what you have been able to do today.
And back at you, Kendo. It's always a pleasure to be on the cast with you. And of course, shout out to Blasky behind the scenes, pressing the buttons. Great job, as always, in the production chair. And we thank all of you viewers, too, for making it possible and making a scene and really allowing these players to experience something truly special. Well, that'll wrap up the Colorado High School Activities Association finals as presented by Play Versus. We appreciate everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Good night.